Hi there, I'm Matt Buzzard. This is my good friend Kevin Stoa. We're here in Albert Lea, Minnesota, southern part of the state, at KS Engineering, where they build high quality dirt track, circle track engines for racers in just about every class. But I'm going to go ahead and say a lot of modifieds, some late models, some stock cars. The great thing about Kevin and his shop here is I've known Kevin for probably close to 25 years now, and to watch your company grow just from being basically in love with the industry and in love with the racing sport. I've always had a lot of admiration for you that way. So we feel real fortunate to be here today, talking to Kevin and him giving us the opportunity to come in and take some really nice footage of his shop and visit with him. Kevin, just a little bit about you and your journey to getting here from where you were. When did you first start falling in love with racing in general? Like when was the hook set when you decided that, you know what, this is the route I'm going to take?
Yeah, that's a good question. My oldest brother, who's 19 years older than me, Roger, he started a speed shop in town here that's still currently going, called R&S Racing. It was Roger Stoa and Steve Nelson. And that was like in 1975 or something. So as a young kid, I got to hang out in the speed shop, which had all kinds of, cool circle track or drag cars or whatever. And then as time went on in 1980, Roger split off. It actually got bought out by Tom Hessness, who currently still owns it.
Okay.
And Tom's more of a drag racer, but a long-time engine builder, whatever. We do some work back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And so then Roger moved his portion of chassis building out to our farm between here and Austin. So through school and high school, I would work for him. He'd pay me some, but just learning how to build chassis and fabricating. But what got me into the engine side was my asthma. Actually, I couldn't take the welding, grinding, all that dust, and everything.
I see. Interesting.
So that led me, there's a lot of old engine stuff laying around, and I would tinker with it at home and whatever, try and build a go-kart out of a chainsaw engine or whatever I was doing. And so then I ended up going to school in Austin at the time, Riverland Tech, which was instructed by Jim Tapp and Bob Bang. Well, in the machine shop world, a lot of people know Jim Tapp from the Goodson days. Well, Jim Tapp had Austin Machine and built on a circle track engine. So, I mean, I had like the best instructor you could ever imagine. And then...
and was this like fresh out of high school when you just went to attend this the tech school? Or was this
right out of high school. So I went to Albert Lea High School here and took a job with Napa Auto Parts, which had a little machine shop here, but I was more of a parts guy there. But then I went to school, finished school, took a job at Napa in Casson, Minnesota, and worked there for a few years, but then ended up ultimately in Rochester, which had a big machine shop, equipped to do big, heavy diesels. We had the hoist, we had everything you could imagine. So yeah, I went to work. We were building race engines at the time for, local guys, even kind of on a national level. We had a offshoot of it called BEC Motorsports, where we would build. At the time, there was a lot of short blocks and stuff, and they'd travel around to trade shows and pedal these short blocks. So we were, and of course I was racing too in the modifieds, but we were building engines for like Mark Noble and, different nationally known guys. Yeah.
I remember him.
And local stars, but we had a lot of success there, but I gained just a ton of experience working on diesels and grinding crankshafts and whatever. So then from there on to JR Motorsports in Ankeny, Iowa. I won the Super Nationals in 2000. Got to talking to Everett Sather from JR's.
Uh-huh. Remember Everett? Yeah.
Yep.
Good guy. Real good guy.
And so I went to work for them in 2000. There again, that was full on race engines, and worked with Dick Boyer and that crew. Become the manager of that shop, and then I hired Preston, who works for me today. Talking about my employees quick, just off, but Jerry was my crew chief before I left for Iowa. So, we've been together that long too. So, but then, through the JR days, gained a ton of knowledge there again with dynoing and stuff. I never had a dyno before that. And then, of course, went on to Chip Ganassi for 5 years or whatever it was until
I remember that.
Closed his engine shop. Well, then at Ganassi, I assembled cup engines, and along with another guy, there's two of us that assembled. And there again, gained tons of knowledge there, working with Bob Fisher and Larry Wallace, and just just awesome bunch of guys.
Something really cool happened. I remember when you decided, it was like the switch flipped and you decided to start your own company, KS Engineering. A lot of people don't know that you actually got started while you were still in North Carolina.
Yeah, Matt, you were supplying me with parts, and I reached out to customers that I was in contact with that through JR Motorsports and different things. So I was able to do some work for people. And there was a little shop there in China Grove, North Carolina. I can't recall the name, but I would take blocks and whatever into them, and they'd do machine work, and then I'd assemble them at home, and I'd fire them up in my driveway. I had a little stand. And, I was shipping them.
I love that.
I know I shipped an engine for sure to Paul Stone, California, and whatever. I was able to do enough work to survive. And then I started, I sold my Harley, sold my boat. Didn't sell my GTO. I still have that, but I sold enough stuff.
Buddy. You got to hang on to something.
Sold enough stuff to start buying some equipment. And then I was able to, there was a customer I knew that actually owned this building back here, and he was wanting me to come back and start this business. And I didn't know. I came and looked at it, and this was a bare, dirty storage building, never had a business in it, wasn't hooked to the city sewer or anything. So I started, working on that, designing drains and whatever. I'd taken some mechanical engineering classes when I was unemployed. That was one benefit of being unemployed. They gave you that option, which I never used much unemployment, but I did for 9 months or something, and was able to go to school and do some CAD designing and different things. So anyway, I just laid out the dyno room and the drains here, and I actually contracted people to do that for me here. So when I got here, at least that was done. But me and Preston, another guy, actually built all these walls and, did all that. My brother was an electrician back here. He was able to work under another guy's license. Of course, I paid him, but he worked at a, very reasonable rate and helped me electrify this place. And it's kind of amazing. I don't know how it all came together, but it's going well after, let's see, that was 2010, and here we are 2025 and still rocking.
Just thumping along and doing a great job with a really good following of customers. You're a humble guy. You won't say much about yourself, but I'm going to brag on you for a minute. So when I first met you was at JR Motorsports there in Iowa when you're talking about. I just felt like we hit it off right out of the gate because you were focused, man. You had a plan on everything you did and what you wanted to do. And that was not only at the engine shop, but also in your racing career. And maybe some people know, maybe some people don't, but not only are you a championship engine builder, but you're also a championship racer. And I think that's one of the coolest things, as if you're a customer of Kevin's, to be able to actually relate. Here's a man who's won some of the biggest races on the planet as far as the Super Nationals in Boone, Iowa, twice, not once, but twice, with some spread in between them. It wasn't like you hit this run of every year in a row. It was like, here you were winning the championship, and then years later, here you came back and did it again. And I think one of the first times I saw you race with my own eyes, you had ventured down to Kansas City to Lakeside Speedway, which is my home track. And you immediately became a fan favorite because you were about this far from the wall. See that passing pretty much everybody. So as far as your engine building career, we've kind of heard about how that's come along. And when did you first get behind the wheel of a race car?
Well, I think I was maybe 15, so 40 years ago.
It's still going strong. So 40 years of racing, and would you say most of it's been behind the wheel of a modified type car or stock car or both?
I would say percentage-wise, probably more modified.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I started out in street stock and then more of a limited late model. I never did too much stock car. I did have a stock car a few years ago and got back in a modified. And I've announced that this is my last modified. Might have it for a few years, I don't know. And then I'm not going to say I won't race, maybe a stock car again or something. But my kids are coming up and they're racing wing karts now, and the oldest is 11. So yeah, we'll just see where that's all.
And we know they're going to need a good crew chief, so we got it right here.
Yeah.
And speaking of racing, Kevin, what would you say is one of your most memorable accomplishments behind the wheel of a race car? Maybe your top accomplishment. What race was it that made you feel probably better than any other race that you'd ever competed in?
Well, the Super Nationals definitely stand out because of the sheer number of cars, and it's a big deal. It's especially the second one, probably. I mean, the first one was super cool, and I think there was 425 modifieds there, and that was definitely in the open engine days. And I guess the second one really was too. But the thing about the second one was I hadn't raced in, I don't know, 3 years or something.
That was,
and because I was working for Chip and traveling. I mean, with that move, I wasn't going to have a race car. Well, then I was fishing actually, and I get this phone call from somebody at IMCA. I don't know if it was Brad or who it was, but anyways, they asked me to come back because it was the 25th anniversary deal, and I'd won it before, and I'm like, I don't even have a car. So I kind of blew it off. I was like, this ain't gonna happen. Well, then it started kind of eating at me a little bit. So then I started looking into things. Called my good friend Toby Cruz to see if he knew of any cars, and so he searched out. Well, then I ended up calling Ryan Reuter or contacting whatever, and he had just parked his car that he got in a brand new one. And so, in this car I'd actually driven before I left, I think, if I remember right, driven it a little bit. So I built an engine down there and did a lot of it at chips, but you could only do so much. So then I kind of finished it over at Vic Hills. Mav was working there. So we got together and went over to Vic's and dynoed it and everything. And then I put it in a car there in North Carolina and just went out and tested, made sure the engine was good, and hauled that thing to Iowa, put it in that other car. And yeah, to win the Super Nationals, I struggled to get in, and then I started. So I got in on Friday night, I think, started like 18th and come up through there and won it. So it was like, yeah, that was really cool.
I'm going to agree. That was one of the coolest weeks. Personally, I don't make it to the Super Nationals every year, but that year I happened to be there. And just for Kevin to do exactly what he said and just to kind of come out of nowhere and win that thing, because like you said earlier in the year, you weren't even planning on going to that race. And then all of a sudden, you got a ride, you built the engine for it, and then you're in the feature, and then you win the darn thing.
Yeah, earlier in the year, I didn't know if I'd ever race again. I really hadn't thought about it because I was just, in another world. But that probably rekindled some dirt track fire in me a little bit, maybe gave me a little bit more direction because, I was down there and I just didn't. I was still in the engine world, but now I'm in the cup world, and it's just different. And then, so I guess when that, Chip was pretty much forced to shut his shop down with the government stuff. We had just switched to Chevrolet. Actually, these engine stands were Ganassi engine stands. I purchased them when they were cleaning out. I wish I would have bought a few more, but they were custom done at Ganassi, and they're really nice to work on. But they switched to heads to Chevrolet because they were all Chrysler. And so anyways, then I didn't know what I was going to do. Continue on mechanical engineering degree or whatever. I had a few different off ramps and crossroads to think about.
Yep.
And I finally did this, and it's been a great decision to be able to come back to the heartland and make a living, raise my kids back here, and definitely the right decision for me.
Well, and you've made a lot of customers happy that way, because you could go to a racetrack in Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Minnesota, really anywhere in the country, and there's a good chance you're going to see a KS Engineering power plant under the hood, if not in one of the cars, in several of them. And something else I wanted to mention, again, Kevin's humble and he isn't going to, tell everybody every accomplishment, but I ran into you at a USMTS banquet earlier this year, and you had won the Engine Builders Championship Award. And I just wanted to congratulate you on that. And to me, it was a proud moment just because we're friends. And I was like, you know what? That's one of the coolest things to see from when we met each other, when we were working at JR Motorsports, and all this hard work you put in and racing you put in and the R&D and everything, and to come out on top in that company last year, it was just quite an accomplishment in my eyes. What do you think about that?
Well, it's something I see, I see it, and it's amazing. I'm still in awe, but I gotta hand that to my employees that do such a good job doing what they do, and Preston Brogard and Jerry Nelson and Craig, and of course my wife, and then our customers, that are out there dedicated to run the tour, like the Chisholm boys and that, and then the success that they have. It's a wonderful experience, a wonderful award to get. We are currently leading it, and which is really cool. But there's other drivers that are right there.
Everybody wants a piece of that action. There's no doubt.
Yeah, but even to be, amongst the top, whether in that is really cool. Because there's quite a few listed, you know.
Oh, without a doubt.
So I mean, even if you run in the top 5 of that, so much of it's out of your control, but it's really an honor to get that last year for sure.
Well, Kevin, I really want to thank you for your being so generous with your time today and sharing your shop with us and letting us kind of move through here and take all the video. And
thank you
really
for everything and the friendship and all the products over the years.
Yes, sir. I'm proud of you. You're doing great, man.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap here from Albert Lea, Minnesota. Thank you.